Hey guys, GarrisonLT here, and or the Gary Naders, coming at you at YouTube's. Anywho, so I've actually had a hypothesis that I recently thought of, and I'm going to show y'all how to. It will actually improve, and I did actually prove it with some other Storm players, comp players. It should improve for all you Storm 4 players out there for the Xbox One. It will improve your overall console general performance as well as any delay you have on the game. Now, mind you, this won't actually guarantee you won't lag though, because it depends on your connection to other players. But let's go ahead and show these settings. And I'm going to go into detail why these settings actually happen, or why they affect it. Now, the hypothesis was, and I posted in Naruto Club about maybe 2 days ago. The hypothesis was, consoles are basically what I like to call convenience PCs. Today and age, consoles run like basic computers. In fact, they now a lot of times have the software and firmware of computers, correct? Anywho, what we're going to do is go to settings. Now, mind you, these will improve your console overall performance. My console actually since then has actually improved in its general performance. It's running more smooth, like fluid, as you can see. Like I'm just basically that before it would actually kind of delay sometimes. These things basically the hypothesis is things basically because it's a convenience PC or like I like to call it, it still has a background tasks such as software, firmware, and everything running drivers and things running in the background for certain aspects of the console to run. Now, even though these things are sometimes convenient, they're not actually helpful. Actually, if you think about it in the wide range, and I'm going to explain why as well. So, first thing we're going to shut off, we're going to go to System Settings. We're going to go to System, and then we're going to hit Console Info. What you want to turn off is what's called Allow Enhanced Error Reporting. Okay. Um, when you turn that off, basically what you're gonna do is what that does is how do I explain this? That basically is your on Windows 10 the equivalent of Windows reporting or something, whatever they fucking call it, I can't remember. Anyway, basically what that does is when the console or device actually has an error, a system error or a software error, the Windows will actually the software called Windows Reporting will actually gather the data and diagnostics of the PC or software and report it to Microsoft for Microsoft to improve. Um, Now that actually, when that triggers, can actually drop the hardware's like capabilities quite a bit, at least that I've seen. Um, Basically, it uses a crap ton of resources, maybe for a short time, but it can actually slow down some things if you don't have like a great computer. Now, mind you, I have noticed a difference since I shut this off as well. Now, the next thing we're going to hit is your updates and downloads. What you want to turn off is what's called Allow Remote Installations and Keep My Games and Apps Up to Date. Those two things do make a difference when you shut them off as well. Remote installations meaning, I mean, let's say if you're game sharing with someone, people do this thing. If that other person downloads something, basically the remote installation is that it's going to download to your console too automatically. So if you're game sharing with someone else and you don't want to download a specific game just because they paid for it, you can turn this off so that it won't actually affect you in that way. But it will also basically do this kind of aspect right here called keep my games and apps up to date, because basically it's going to download the game while you're in the middle of a match or something on Storm 4 or a game in general, and basically take away those resources from the game that's needed to be run. Um, Now, keep my games and apps up to date. Now, this is the same aspect, okay? Um, the keep my console up to date thing is really not a big issue because that's only going to trigger once. And in fact, you really don't need to have that on to keep my console up to date at all. You really don't need that. I might as well just, I mean, I can turn that off right now because with the way the settings are, it's not really going to be necessary. Um, hmm. Actually, no, that actually do need. It actually says it will apply even if the console's off. So what you're gonna do, what keeps keep my games apps up to date. Basically, how I like to equate it to is Windows modules installer on Windows 10. Basically, what it does is it actually is what does your Windows software update and OS operating system updates and such as drivers, things like that. Now, that can trigger any time on your PC unless you set it up a certain way. Keep My Games and Apps is basically the same aspect, except it's doing it with your games. Um, I like to equate that is um, when you're actually running a game on Naruto or any game in general, that background task is actually going to not only always constantly be checking constantly, so it's always running, checking if your games need an update. Basically, always doing a check. It's like constant at all times. So that task would naturally be running at this like always. It's different than Windows modules installer in that sense. At the same time, when start updating, when it does that, if it starts doing the updates, that's drastically not only going to start basically splitting up your internet connection a bit because it's having to do the background downloads, um, but also you're going to have your resources on the console, like I said, be taken away from the game and basically be kind of splitting up of quite a bit between the two. Now that can actually be what can cause the delay as well in Storm 4. A lot of games on Xbox it doesn't necessarily affect, but Storm 4 we all know. I mean, you know, the developers didn't do very great with its netcode and all that. Now the next thing you're going to do, and I'm actually going to not go into the device here, not device, settings too much. You're going to hit network settings, and what you're going to do is I'm not going to click it, but you're going to hit advanced settings, and then you're going to go to alternate MAC address and clear it. That is basic maintenance from what I've seen, and it actually does affect or help a lot. It's just like it does the same effect somewhat as a software update or software reset. Sorry, it's called a soft reset when you just hold down the power button on your console and basically for 10 seconds and then it shuts off. Now, another aspect is based on the software reset idea is that that can actually not always fix a problem. You want to do what's called a hardware reset. To do that, if you need to know, is you'll do the same setup. You'll hold it down for 10 seconds, shut it off. You have to do it with the console's power button. And then after it shuts off, pull the power cord from the back of the console, click the power button 3 to 4 times while the power wire is out of the console. What that does is drain the internal battery and or power source of any kind, and basically wipe any cache, and then you'll plug the back in the wire and start back up with the power button on the console. Now the next thing we're going to hit is under settings is power and startup. You're going to go to power mode and startup in the sub section. When you hit that, you're going to turn on energy saving as your power mode. Now, instant on mode, I know it's a convenience. It keeps everything up to date and all that. But basically, it's a fancy word for how you consider it on PC sleep mode. Meaning the computer's still running, the console's still running. So when you actually turn off your console, you're not what's doing what's called a power cycle. Basically, what it's doing is restarting the console from fresh or computer. I first figured this out with my TV. I had the same issues with my TV at one point because it was basically an instant on sleep mode kind of effect um, called Quick Start. But this kind of setting fixed it a lot. It fixed a lot of issues. Um, Power cycling, such as energy saving mode, even though it's good perfectly, it's basically like if you were to turn on an N64 back in the day. I mean, you just hit a switch and turn it on. It's really not a big deal to boot up. In fact, um, if you actually do it and not have to do it while in instant on mode, if you have to like power cycle in instant on mode, I have noticed boot up times are a lot slower. In fact, when I loaded up earlier on this video, if y'all noticed, my boot times actually was about maybe I want to say 5 seconds, 5 to 6 seconds maybe. When in like maybe 3 seconds of that was probably, loading up all these little options on the dash. Now, before that, when I had instant on mode, if I had to do a power cycle, such as, clicking, going to settings, hitting restart, that actually would not only take forever for it to actually trigger the restart, but when it actually loaded up, the Xbox boot up screen, the Xbox One boot up screen that's all green, took like I want to say like a minute at least to load up. Like it was bad. So, like I said, power mode and startup can help a lot when you change it to energy saving mode. Now, I know some people might actually doubt these things, but I've already had about, I want to say, 3 to 4 people try these after I told them about them. And instantly, when you actually do these settings, you'll instantly notice a difference in your console's general performance. Um, Now, the same people as well have actually noticed differences on Storm 4. In fact, one is a good friend named Tortoise Moss. Me and him tested it out when I was actually testing the hypothesis overall with Storm 4. And when we did it for like the past 2 weeks before that, we actually were having severe delays. Even he was noticing hiccups and transmitting and such like that. When we did these settings, it was like playing 360, like Storm 3, like super fluid, as an example. Like it was like clean. I don't remember where, part of the country he's in, but I don't think we're actually too close to each other, network wise, by peer to peer. Now, I don't know if I actually said it in this video yet, but I should specify how peer to peer connection works. Like I said, these settings will improve your console performance, but it doesn't mean that you won't have any lag at all in Storm 4 as a game. Um, The thing about peer-to-peer connection, it does not run on a host connection. So even if someone's hosting a lobby, it is not connecting to just them. A host connection basically, it's been around since the original Xbox days, and actually, I'll personally say I prefer a host connection even over what is it called? Independent, wasn't it? Not independent. Any other network typing for gaming. Sorry, I can't think of the word. Peer-to-peer, I feel, is actually the worst kind of connection typing because of so many aspects. This is just personal opinion, of course. Y'all might have a different one. But basically, with peer-to-peer, what it has to do with is, how do I say this? It has to do with, now, it takes so many aspects into effect that makes it a problem that I see. One, your connection to your own server, your connection, like your difference, not only your connection to it, but also your distance from your server. Two, your connection and difference of distance from the person you're playing. That can affect your connection. What else? Uh, Three, your connection quality in general, each of you. You can have you can have like fucking gigabit speed like I do or some other people I've come across on Storm 4. But if your distance and the other aspects take into play with peer to peer, it won't matter at all. You're still gonna probably have some lag, most possibly. Um, the thing about host connection, I think why a lot of consoles actually did away with it was because of the fact that one, back then, I don't know how to explain how it caused it, but host connection would actually give the host certain priorities, such as hitbox and stuff, and it was based on their latency being the lowest because they're hosting. Their their ping and such. Um, a good example would be Call of Duty for Modern Warfare 2, all those back on the 360. They were actually host connection. A good example would be like you could actually shoot a shotgun almost like 50 yards away. Like it was ridiculous. You could actually hit a shotgun shell and or kill them from that far away, and you wouldn't even have to have slugs if they're available. It wouldn't even be necessary. That's a good example. Host connection, though, I actually prefer overall, not because of that aspect. That was basically its only negative. But host connection, basically how it works compared to peer, or forgot the other term. Currently, basically what EA uses, basically independent. How do you say it? I can't think of the word right now. I'm actually going blank. But a host connection, basically everybody in the lobby or match connects to this one person that actually is the servers will actually identify as the best host. And so they usually have the highest connection quality. Now this I actually prefer because it actually made things a lot smoother since these Xbox One, PS4, and stuff came out. They started slowly doing it at the end of the 360 era and such. 360 kind of technically is still going, but host connection, like I said, it has a smoother connection because of this aspect. It connects to one person, everybody connected to that one person, but they're also it's not like having to judge their connections between each other. They just have to connect to one person as the main source of basically independent server. I guess you could suggest. I guess you could explain. You know, roughly. But that's actually something I preferred overall. I've been on Xbox, as you see in the bottom left corner right there, for 10 years. Xbox Live. Had this account since 2008. I think it was July is when I actually made my Xbox Live account of 2008. Right after high school, I was actually graduated in June. Um, was it June 10th or something like that? But yeah, so that's just basically all I wanted to show and basically try to help the community a bit. Probably help the Storm community. I'm very well known to basically be that way and try to help communities overall. I like to, even with my club, try to help gaming communities, even over here on Xbox, by allowing them to advertise to an extent, but they have to be legitimate when doing so. Everybody knows I'm the owner of Naruto too. But if y'all like what y'all saw, please leave a follow. Much appreciated, and check out my Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch in the info section of the video. Have a good day, guys, and see y'all later.